Hello, welcome to my 2016 Super Tuesday Super Prediction Edition. In this episode of my predictions series, I will be discussing the March 1st Super Tuesday primary season. There's 12 contests that are up for grabs for the Democrats, and I'm going to progressively start from the least pledged delegates to the most pledged delegates and go in order for who I think will win in those contests and why I think they'll win there. So first up is the American Samoa. I think that Bernie Sanders will win by between 50% and 60% of the vote. So he'll have 50% or so to 60% or so total of the vote in the American Samoa. The reason for this is that the American Samoa has a substantial population of veterans of the U.S. Armed Forces. And Bernie Sanders is the former chair of the Veterans Committee for the Senate, most certainly has the experience and the wherewithal to speak well to the issues of veteran voters. And it's definitely a demographic that supports him and has supported him in the past. And so I think that in the American Samoa, Bernie Sanders will win around 50 to 60% of the caucus. Next up is Vermont. Right now, Bernie Sanders is the sitting senator from the state of Vermont. He is one of the most popular senators of all time from the state of Vermont. So I am very confident in saying that Bernie Sanders will win the state of Vermont at around 80 to 90% of the vote total in the primary. I think Bernie Sanders is going to do very well in the state of Vermont. Now going on to Arkansas. Arkansas is a state in the South that Bill Clinton was governor of for a time, and Hillary Clinton was, by extension, the first lady of the state of Arkansas for a period of time. And I think it's going to be a pretty not close contest. I think that Hillary Clinton will win in the state of Arkansas. I think she'll win at around 55 to 60% of the vote, and Bernie Sanders will get around 40 to 45% of the vote there in the open primary. The reason it will be closer than it might otherwise be is because it's an open primary. And I think that will have a greater benefit to Bernie Sanders than it does to Clinton. In the state of Oklahoma, I believe that Bernie Sanders will win. I believe Bernie Sanders will win around 50, 55, maybe 60% total of the vote. And the reason is that the demographics in Oklahoma really work in Bernie Sanders' favor. When Bernie Sanders was there giving a rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma, thousands of people poured out to listen to him speak. And the deal with Oklahoma is that the demographics of the voting electorate there work to his advantage in this upcoming semi-close primary in Oklahoma. So I think that Bernie Sanders will be victorious in Oklahoma. Now moving on to the state of Alabama. In the state of Alabama, I believe that Hillary Clinton will be the winner of Alabama by about, she'll win maybe 5-10 percentage points more than Bernie Sanders. And the reason for that is because demographically, Alabama, as South Carolina has demonstrated, really works in Hillary Clinton's favor. She did quite well with the African American vote down in South Carolina not so long ago, and I think that given Alabama's demographics for the voting electorate in their primary, that Hillary Clinton will win, and she'll win big in Alabama. Now going to Colorado. Colorado is one of those really interesting states that has legalized marijuana within the state, and it's got a very diverse, very progressive electorate. I think that Bernie Sanders, given the really progressive nature of the state in the past few years, is going to do very well in the state of Colorado. I think that he will do exceedingly well in Colorado because the demographics work in his favor for the closed caucus. I just don't see Hillary Clinton winning in Colorado, and I see Bernie Sanders winning at around 50 to 55% of the vote. It won't be a big win, but it will be a win in the state of Colorado. And I'm very convinced of this because of how the demographics in Colorado look like in terms of who's the voting electorate is. The voting electorate tends towards a more younger demographic because of Denver and how it's an up-and-coming millennial town, and also because of the different things that have happened in the state, in Colorado specifically, that have lent themselves to more progressive candidates, progressive ideas, and things of that nature. And so I think Colorado will be a Bernie Sanders win. State of Tennessee, I think, will go to Clinton. Tennessee is one of those southern states as well that the demographics just do not weigh in Bernie Sanders' favor. And so I think that Clinton will win, and she will win big in the open primary of Tennessee. Now, in the state of Minnesota, this is one of those states where I really, really think Bernie Sanders has a good chance of winning. It will be close, I think. I think that Minnesota will be close because of the fact that Al Franken, the senator of Minnesota, has endorsed Hillary Clinton, and he's got a lot of support within Minnesota. But Minnesota's demographics work to Bernie Sanders' advantage. It's a very booming state, but it's got a young population. And so I think that Minnesota is one of those states that Bernie Sanders will do well in. He may not win. It'll most likely be close to a tie or just above it, but he could win. But Hillary Clinton could win too. So for Minnesota, I'm going to predict that Bernie Sanders wins, if only because every time he's gone to Minnesota, there's been really big rallies. There's been a lot of support, and I just haven't seen that as much during this campaign season for Clinton. And so I think that Minnesota will swing towards Bernie, but just a little bit. Now onto the state of Massachusetts. Massachusetts is a northeastern state. It's got a lot of very educated people. It's got a whole lot of universities, a whole lot of them. Boston College, Boston University, Harvard, a whole bunch of them. There's a whole bunch more. And the point for why I'm bringing up universities is that Massachusetts is one of those states that I think Bernie Sanders will win. It's a semi-closed primary, but here's the deal with Massachusetts. It's got a huge electorate, huge. That's young, that's in college, that has student loan debt. And Bernie Sanders is the aspirational candidate, the candidate that says, look, I will figure out a way to reduce your student loan debt and to provide college at low or no cost for people who can't afford it. And I think that Massachusetts, due to its proximity to Vermont and due to a whole bunch of other factors, is going to go towards Bernie Sanders. I think he'll win in Massachusetts. I think there's a really, really good chance there for him to win. Virginia as well, I think Bernie Sanders will win, but he'll win by just a percentage point, maybe 0.5%. It's going to be really, really close in Virginia because of the demographics. And because it's an open primary in Virginia, that works to Bernie Sanders' advantage. New Hampshire was an open primary, worked to Bernie Sanders' advantage. I think that, it was semi-open. It was also semi-closed in New Hampshire, but it still worked to Bernie Sanders' advantage in New Hampshire, and he won big. So I think that in terms of what's going to happen in Massachusetts and Virginia is Bernie will win Massachusetts by 1 to 5 percentage points, and he might win Virginia by 0.5%. It's going to be really close. In the state of Georgia, I think that Hillary Clinton will win. State of Georgia demographically does not work in Bernie Sanders' favor. He does not have the support that he needs on the ground floor. He doesn't have enough support within the diverse communities of the Georgian demographic electorate to support him to the degree that he needs. And so I think that Hillary Clinton will win. I think she'll win big. She'll win a decisive win, 10 to 20% in Georgia. That brings me to the last state that I'm talking about, Texas. Now, Texas is this really fascinating state. It's huge. It has 222 pledged delegates potentially up for grabs. And that means that it's a really big state to focus on and maybe win. And I think that because of the population centers of Texas that have really strong Democratic support, tend to actually lean more liberal, more progressive, Bernie Sanders has a good chance of winning in Texas. Now, it's not a huge chance, but it is a chance. And so my prediction is Bernie Sanders will win in what will essentially be a virtual tie. 0.01, 0.02 percentage points of the electorate. But I think he will win in Texas due to how the demographics play out and how Texas, because of the nature of Texas's current economic environment, there's a lot of young people who have migrated to Texas. A whole lot of my young people have migrated to Texas to look for jobs and to get work after graduating from college, because the work environment in Texas is so good right now for young people, and that they're hiring. And so I think that Texas has a whole lot of young people that might come out to vote in the Texas primary. And so my prediction is that I think that Bernie Sanders will win in Texas. It will be close, but I think he'll win. All right, so that's my Super Tuesday, super prediction edition of my IWhistleOften's predictions series. I think it's going to be a good Super Tuesday. At the end of it, I think it will come out to not a tie, but close to it in terms of delegates. And so in that result, Hillary Clinton's the winner overall of Super Tuesday, because she has the most pledged super delegates right now, and so she's ahead. And so I think that for Bernie Sanders to really have a chance at winning the nomination, he has to win, and he has to win big on Super Tuesday. I think he'll win in a few places, and some of them will be pretty decisive wins, but I don't think he'll win big, and he has to win big. But my predictions are what they are. They're predictions, based on looking at the demographics and what I think will happen in those states. Those are my predictions. So we'll